life is hard. No matter what level you're on, no matter if you're the poorest person in the world, the richest person in the world, the most loved person in the world, or not loved at all, the most accomplished person in the world, or not accomplished at all. Every phase of your life, no matter what phase you are, as I just mentioned, you're going to have pockets where it's difficult. All right, so we move from that into a more sadder story, and we're going to take a look at mental health here. So on Tuesday, the entertainment world mourned the loss of Stephen Twitch Boss, who was the DJ
Mhm.
and co-host of the Ellen DeGeneres show. Boss was found in a motel room on Tuesday afternoon with a fatal self-inflicted wound. This has once again brought into the forefront the importance of mental health and the real cost of fame. So Sticks, we've discussed mental health multiple times on this show,
Mhm.
on this podcast. How important is it that we address mental health issues in this country, and why does fame seem to cost so much?
Man, those are two good questions, bro. I mean, mental health is something that is very important across everyone, not just, not just men, not just women, not just children, not just, actors, actresses, celebrities, athletes, whatever. It's very important to everyone. The only thing that we run into is that when you look at the numbers and you look at how society talks about men in general, men commit or at least attempt suicide 4 to 5 times more than women. And in my eyes, I believe that it's because, and it's just my personal opinion, and I think this is a lot of opinion of a lot of other people as well. But my personal opinion is because of how men as boys are brought up. We're
Mhm.
told to be strong, be a man, get up and wipe it off, try again, and and we're taught to like when if you strong or you too strong and you talking about you alpha and this and the third, now you toxic. But if you seek help and talk about your feelings and you're emotional about things, now you're overly emotional or you're gay. So it's like we don't a lot of men don't have a lot of outlets that the women have. Women are, in my opinion, are very coddled to from the society and social media, and everything in the world coddles women. You got,
Mhm.
body positivity, you got feminism, you got all of these things, but men don't have these kind of outlets. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of these things where we have to make sure that the people who we're close to, we have to it goes back to just having conversations with people, man. And I know with a lot of people who are going through situations like what Twitch was going through, sometimes it's hard for especially men to just come out and speak about their emotions. I'm not that guy. If I'm feeling some type of way and somebody asks me what's wrong, I might motherfucking cry. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might cry, and I might, what I'm saying, I might pour my heart out because I need to get it out. I need to have somebody tell
Mhm.
me about it. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard for us as men to express our emotions, especially to women sometimes, because a lot of women don't know how to handle a man's emotions. And the way society looks at men who are overly emotional, we get called a bitch all the time, and we don't want to be called no bitch. So we try to be as
Mhm.
manly and as much of a man as we possibly can. On the outside, and we just kind of suppress and handle things on our own on the inside, and try to figure out how we can battle these demons every single day without getting to this point of self deletion. But sometimes it just overtakes us, man, and we got to figure out exactly how to bring it into the forefront and talk about it a little bit more in the media and in the world, so that way we can keep these things from happening and figure out the best way to handle somebody who is having these kind of problems.
Yeah, yeah. First and foremost, I want to say my heart goes out to the Boss family.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody has said it, but can't imagine what they're going through.
Can't
And
imagine, man.
know that they're probably thinking, what could I have done to make
Mhm.
this situation different? Don't wrap your head around that. It's probably nothing that you could have done. Honestly, we
Right.
always hear, yeah, especially in these mental health cases or mental health and the issues where somebody has taken their own life is
Mhm.
um, check after this. Check on your strong friends. What exactly does that mean? Because
Yeah.
me and you have conversations every Sunday. For
Mhm.
the most part, I might not go in depth with conversations to some of my friends, but I try to constantly check on them to make sure to at least say, hey, what's going on? If I can gather anything from their voice, their tone, then I'll try to go in depth. But at least I'm trying to check on them, right?
Yeah.
But mental health. I think it's extremely important that we have more conversations about mental health because, as we are finding out, and again, I'm gonna talk about social media. Social media has a big impact on how we see ourselves and how we compare ourselves to each other in ways in which we did not have access to do 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, 10 to
Hmm.
15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So now I can pick up my phone and I can see what you're doing basically all the way in Washington. We don't have to
Hmm.
be right next to each other in the same city, same state anymore, or even in the same country for that matter. I can see, oh, he looks like he's having a good time in Dubai. Oh, it looks like
Hmm.
he's having a good time in Washington, or oh, he's going
Or
through some things. Let me
Las
hit him
Vegas.
up. Right. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
didn't post anything about that, but it's all good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, I can see what you're doing. With anybody that I feel like I wanted to connect with, I can see what they're doing. And that's the great thing about social media and the internet is it does give you those opportunities. The bad thing about social media is it gives you those opportunities, right? You can
Hmm.
now compare how you are living your current life to somebody that's been doing what you want to do for 20 years. And it
Hmm.
makes you feel as if you're inadequate at what
Hmm.
you're trying to do and that they are way more accomplished than you are. In
Hmm.
reality, you're comparing the opening chapter of your book to essentially the finale or the last chapter of their book.
Right.
And so life is hard.
It
You
is,
know,
man.
no matter what level you're on, no matter if you're uh, the poorest person in the world, the richest person in the world,
Hmm.
the most loved person in the world, or not loved at all, the most accomplished person in the world, or not accomplished at all. Every phase of your life, no matter what phase you are, as I just mentioned, you're going to have pockets where it's difficult.
Hmm.
And if we don't if we don't learn how to cope with those difficulties in the phase of our life that we're in with the technology that we have access to, we're going to
Hmm.
see more of this.
Unfortunately, yeah.
The numbers are going, unfortunately, right? The numbers are going to continue to rise. And me personally, I think we need to have free and mandatory classes or programs for kids in school to
Hmm.
help them learn how to cope with feeling inadequate or feeling as if they're a failure or
Hmm.
failing at whatever in life. And employers also need to offer programs or somebody that their employees can talk to that's free
Hmm.
for the same for feeling inadequate or failing at whatever the case may be because life is hard and
It
there
is,
are
man.
things that we go through that gets us to a point to where everybody's had these thoughts. They might not have gone through with it, but I'm sure everybody's had this thought of, dang man, I don't even, they've had those
Yeah.
thoughts.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
we need to create programs for us to have these conversations with somebody and for our kids to learn at a young age how to cope with different things for them feeling as if they want to do certain things because obviously we can't teach our kids something that we didn't really have to deal with
Right.
when we were younger. Social media was not prevalent. The internet was not this prevalent as it is now when we were growing up or when our
Hmm.
parents were growing up. So that knowledge being passed down of how to deal with certain things, we haven't quite gotten there yet. And so I know somebody has the information that they can pass on to us, to our kids, of how to deal with certain things.
I think I'm pretty sure of that too, man. I mean, and it's and I'm it's crazy you said that because I was thinking to myself that if I had the means, I would. But I was thinking to myself whenever I was researching this, exactly what you just said. We need to have some kind of program or some kind of what I thought about was some kind of nonprofit organization that provides free therapy to people who feel like they're going through these personal situations and these thoughts of self-deletion. We need to have
Mhm.
somebody that does free therapy. I mean, of course, you can find a therapist and you can probably do something for like a $75 an hour session or something like that, which is not super duper expensive. But some people who are going through these things can't afford $75 an hour, especially
Right.
if they're trying to do it 2 to 3 times a week, 12 months a year. That can get expensive.
Mhm.
So we need some. If I had the funds, I would. Or if I had I can't even say the time and time management. We just talked about that before we started recording. But we just
100.
got to figure. You know what I'm saying? But we just got to. If something like that was implemented, I think a lot of these things would be caught. Well before some people even attempted that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But in a sense of Twitch, though, I didn't watch Ellen, nor did I watch on a regular basis. So You Think You Can Dance, which is the two shows that he was very prevalent on. But
Mhm.
from my research on this man, he was a star. He was, a smile that can light up a room. He was a presence. He was a very, very positive person. He had a beautiful wife, a beautiful family with 3 kids. And, you know, how you keep thinking, like, how can somebody who was this positive and energetic take his own life? And just like you said, social media is prevalent and everybody had their reactions to it, about how it's heartbreaking and how it's sad. But then you also see those comments of, but he had so many resources, or how could he do this to his family? Or, but it's almost the
Mhm.
holidays. That was so selfish. Or what a selfish thing to do. And like, when somebody is struggling with mental health, especially, and I'm gonna say this again, especially in a man's case, you
Mhm.
whenever Delon said, check on your strong friends, what that means is you have a lot of friends that are struggling through things that you see on the outside, and what they present are very, very happy, energetic people. You will never know what lies beneath, because
Mhm.
because most men, including myself, I don't want to project my problems onto anybody else. So if I'm around my friends, around my family, even around customers that come in and come to see me, and even my coworkers who I'm not that close with, I'm not nowhere near as close to my coworkers as I am with D-Lo, right? But even if I'm around D-Lo, sometimes I don't want to project my problems on my best friends. I don't want to take my weight and weigh my friends down. And a lot of men, especially, are like that, because it's, for someone, you don't see these mental health issues with a lot of people. We're going to mask them as much as we possibly can to get through our day. But when we're in private, we're going to cry our hearts out because we're trying to figure out what's next, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's what it means by check on your strong friends. The friends that you think are on top of the world, and the ones that show this positive image and this shining light in public, check on them as far as what they're going through in private. So that's what that phrase kind of means. But the people who were saying these negative things online about how he's selfish and how he do this to his family, you don't know what that man was going through. You have no idea
Right.
what that man was going through. Even his family didn't even know. His wife didn't even know what he was going through. So a man that is carrying that weight, that can't even tell his wife of 9 years what was going through. How can you sit here and make that negative comment on social media about how he's so selfish whenever his wife didn't even know?
Mhm.
His wife, when he left on that Monday to go to that hotel and did what he did, his wife was like, "This is very uncommon of him." His wife was like, "Yo, this is not how he move. He would never leave the house without taking his own car. He would never walk to a mile down the road to a motel to do nothing like this." Like, it was so unlike him, the way he showed his family he actually was going through behind the scenes. So all those
Mhm.
negative comments, man, is what really pissed me off, because you have no idea what that man was struggling with. You have no idea the demons that he was battling every single day on a day-to-day basis. No idea.
Yeah, I so those type of comments, to me, I try to understand where they're coming from with those comments. Um, but usually it's usually it's from a place of not really understanding what mental health is, and the challenges of people in his position go through. And then it is also, they may have issues of their own that they aren't really letting out. Yeah, again, social media is a place where you have people that act like angels, and the good person, and you have people that act like bullies and the devil. So, you get
Hmm.
the best of both worlds from social media. So, for every good comment and every blessing and hope for the best for his family, you're going to get those comments of, oh, he's so selfish. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. How could, he has these resources. Why did he have to do this? But as I
Hmm.
just mentioned, at any level of life, you're going to have troubles. And we've heard multiple times it does not matter the amount of money that you have. Money does not truly, money doesn't buy you happiness. It makes things easier. It gives you resources to better your future and better your life, but it doesn't make you happy.
At
So
all.
if you're dealing with things, if you have dealt with things in the past, those things will get magnified 10 times when you gain money. If you
They
have a
will.
vice that if you have a vice that you were dealing with when you didn't have anything, when you get money, that vice is going to go 10 times. So if you were heavy into drugs when you didn't have money, you're now 10 times more of a drug addict. If you had a gambling issue when you didn't have money, you're now 10 times more of a gambler. It just makes those situations worse. And if you don't get help with that specific issue, then that's going to bleed into other areas of your life.
Hmm.
And so I think my struggle with this whole situation is the question that I ask, and I appreciate you giving me a little bit of insight on it, because I
Hmm.
want to be as best a friend as I can to
100%.
all of my friends that I feel that I'm really close with.
Hmm.
My big question is, how do I, as a friend of somebody that may be struggling with their challenges that I might not know of, how do I officially and how do I efficiently check on them to make sure that they're okay without digging too much? Or do I just need to dig and dig and dig until I get some answers that I feel comfortable with and understanding what they're going through?
So I feel like as far as so you got to, there are some things that you can kind of tell from people who are you are very close to whenever they're actually like not themselves. You know what I'm saying? You have to
Hmm.
just read that person. If you see that that person most times is a very like energetic and, well, I mean, just in Twitch's situation, most people didn't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like on the
Hmm.
outside in the public, it was, you could not tell anything, nothing. And even behind closed doors, with his wife and kids, they couldn't tell anything. But whenever you're close to somebody, you there are some tells that that person is going through something, right? So if you're on FaceTime or you face to face with them or you're on the phone with them and they don't sound themselves or they don't look themselves and they're not acting themselves, then you can always pull them to the side and say, hey man, I've been noticing for a couple of days that, you know what I'm saying, your mannerism, your actions ain't been who you are. So what's going on? What you battling with, type of thing. Like, and
Hmm.
so but it depends on your relationship. Like somebody like you, nigga, I'm gonna dig. If I notice that you ain't right, I'm about to come to dealer like, hey, nah, my nigga, like you not who you normally are. Like, what's good with you, bro? Like, talk to me. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I'm gonna dig because we have that relationship. We've been friends for 25 years almost. But
Hmm.
somebody who, you know, saying who you might just be an acquaintance with, or you might see on a regular basis that you're not really close to, like me, like say me and you, you got to kind of take it slow, but just kind of observe action. You know what I'm saying? Observe the actions,
Hmm.
observe how they talk, observe, the things that they maybe they're not eating or something like that. Or you just got to find the tails and just kind of pull them to the side and say, hey man, like I'm kind of worried. You know, so kind of show that empathy for him, like, hey, like I'm kind of worried about you, man. You know, you ain't really been yourself the last couple of days. Like, talk to me. What's really good? You know what I mean? But most men are gonna put on that facade though. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Women, you can kind of tell when they're emotional because they are emotional in nature, but we're so taught to be so strong and so, you know what I'm saying, so barbaric and so masculine that we have a hard time struggling with the battles that we're dealing with behind closed doors emotionally. So
Right.
you gotta find the tells, man. You gotta find the signs that that person is really just not right. You know what I'm saying?
So continue to be persistent when you think whatever you think they're having some struggles. Just continue to say, "All right, listen, man. I know. I feel like you're going through something. What's up?" They don't
Yeah.
respond. Give us some time. Come
Give it some
back.
time.
All
Come
right,
back.
man. What's up?
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
noticed this. what's going
Hmm.
on. All right, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I would do. But I usually try to at least, the people who I'm really close to, like you, Mac, a couple of my other close people who I think are close friends. Like, hey, I would just, I just send out a text message, or I talk to you every day, so I already know what's
yeah.
going on with you. But I send out a text message every once in a while, like, hey, man, you good? Just checking on you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to talk,
Hmm.
you know what I mean. I'm always here for you. I love you, bro, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So just so they know,
Right.
like, they have an outlet. If they are going through something, they can open up and vent at that point, or at any point. They know they have somebody who has two ears and one mouth for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
can listen
Yep.
more
Yep.
than I
Yep.
talk. You feel me? So I always just send that message out. It was a friend of mine from school today that, what I'm saying, I happened to see one of her posts, and I said, hey, I'm just checking on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't seen her in almost a decade, but hey, I was
Hmm.
we been cool. I'm just checking on you. You know what I'm saying? How you feeling? How's your mental? You good? Da, 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 da. We had a quick little conversation. She said she was all right. Cool. You know what I'm saying? But if I see something else, I might be like, hey, I noticed this. Yeah, all right, you need to talk. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things where you, of course, be persistent, but always check on the people who you really care about. You know what I'm saying? Always check on them, send them a message, and make sure that they good. Because if they not, they gonna tell you. If you really close with
Yeah.
them, they really gonna tell you. And if they don't, just keep managing, just keep focusing on, their mannerism and the actions going forward, and say, hey, I saw this. Let's talk about this. You know what I mean? So that's how
Yeah.
I do it. Yeah,
Yeah. I'll even
that's how I
add
do it.
to checking on the people that you're close with, even if you're not close with certain individuals. If you know
Yeah,
something, give them a yo, what's going on? If they don't respond, they don't respond. But at least you've done your part and to try to understand the situation that they're going through. I think.
for
Um,
sure.
but so the going into the manly part of it, or how
Hmm.
boys were raised,
Hmm.
and ultimately the cost of fame. So it seems like
Gotcha.
the cost of fame is taking its toll on a lot of individuals as of lately, with all of the news that we've seen come out about mental health, and this person saying they autistic, this person, Kanye said he was
I'm
autistic
sorry. I
last
didn't
week.
mean to laugh because it's not funny, but
I
yeah.
did. I mean, I try to throw a little bit of comedy in there because this is a serious scenario. But
Yeah.
we people we've said that we believe Kanye has some type of mental illness
Mental
for the
health. Yeah.
longest.
Hmm.
But situations like that, you talk about Kanye, you talk about Twitch in this situation, you talk about numerous other celebrities that go through these episodes where they seem to be out of control, or
Hmm.
like
Out of
you know
character.
out of character, and we never expected them to have these type of issues. And it
Hmm.
just seems like the cost of fame is doing this to them. So Sticks, do you think, like, you think the cost of fame is too steep right now? Do you think, like, we should back off on how we hold these celebrities on a pedestal and put much pressure on them? What do you think the cost of fame is doing to our entertainers?
So I think one thing I do agree with is I think need to stop holding these athletes and these entertainers on a pedestal. I do agree with that because there's a lot of celebrities that people literally idolize that they've never met. But you can aspire to be like somebody, but you don't have to idolize that person to the point where you're holding that person on a pedestal. I do agree with that.
Hmm.
I think the cost of fame is in a bunch of different areas, just like RIP Takeoff. He didn't take his own life, but somebody took his life. That's the cost of fame, right?
Hmm.
So
Yep.
it's like, so it's one of those things where the cost of fame is in a lot of different areas. Mental health comes along with that because of the media holding those people, us as the media holding these people on such a pedestal to where they we feel like they can do no wrong, but we don't know exactly what they're going through behind the scenes. So
Hmm.
we as people, not necessarily don't, we can't praise them for their success, but putting them up here when everybody else is down here is kind of, that to me, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, people love Beyonce. She got the Beehive. People hold her on a pedestal that is so beyond the stratosphere. That's crazy, right? But she's a
Yep.
normal person just like the rest of us. She just makes music. She makes good
Hmm.
music, but she's an entertainer. She's an artist, just like everybody else is an artist. So you're gonna her on the status is higher than, SZA, because why? You know what I'm saying? She's a
Right.
megastar. She's done movies, but SZA's a megastar too, right? So like you gonna hold, but it's just one of those things where we pedestalize some people. I couldn't say that word for nothing in this world. Please keep that in. But I couldn't
Oh,
spit it
definitely.
out.
Oh man, come on, I'm not taking that out.
That's
That's
all,
all,
folk. Hear that?
folks.
But nah, I mean, we definitely got to stop pedalizing, because the reason why that's toxic, because we hold these people to such an esteem, to where if they can't sometimes if they can't meet that expectation of us, it can be damaging to their mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
the cost of fame is crazy. Just like Robin Williams, man, that man seemed like the happiest person in the world, but it took his own
Yep.
life, and nobody knew exactly what was
Mm-hmm.
going on with him. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of ways that we need to stop, man. Like I don't know. It's hard. The cost of fame is high, and it's because of us. It's because of the
The cost
media.
of
It's
fame
because
is the
super high.
yeah, yeah. The cost of fame is steep. I think the main reason that the cost of fame is steep. Well, I think it's two reasons that the cost of fame is steep. The first one is sacrifices. When you are in those positions of fame and power, you've usually sacrificed a lot to get to that position, which is why the
Mm-hmm.
saying that if it was easy, everybody could do it, everybody would do it is
Mm-hmm.
so popular, because it's not easy to get to where a lot of these people that are entertainers, that do have a lot of money, that are in powerful positions. It's a reason why they're there. They sacrifice so much to get there, whether they meant to sacrifice it or not. They sacrificed, whether it was their
Right.
time, whether it was spending time with family, spending time with friends, going to parties with friends, or whatever the case may be. They sacrificed that. Whether it was, sitting in the house, it's still a part time, but sitting in the house learning some code, a la
Mm-hmm.
Bill Gates and
Mm-hmm.
his boy. Different things with time and sacrifices lead into the cost of fame. You miss out
Mm-hmm.
on a lot. The
Indeed.
second one is these individuals can never truly be off. Like for you and I, we are doing this right now. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
put this out to the world. But because we don't have such a following right now, we could go
We
to the
could.
grocery store, or we can go to McDonald's or whatever the case may be with no issue. These celebrities, they can't do that. They always got to be on. And in some regard, that's going to take a toll on you, because you always got to be on your P's and Q's. You can't say anything out of line if you care about being that type of person. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything out of character if you care about being that type of person. You
Mm-hmm.
can't go out anywhere without being noticed, or fearing for your life, or fearing for your safety, or thinking somebody may do something to you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the costs, though, to me, are the two major costs of fame. Is time,
Mm-hmm.
and they can never truly be off. They always got to be on their P's and
Always got to be
Q's,
on.
making sure that they know what's going on with their surroundings.
Hmm. I agree, man. I mean, and I was reading the article. Um, Mel Robbins, who was a writer and a CNN commentator, and she was talking about the whole Twitch thing. And this is another long quote, but bear with me. She said, "There's a big difference between wanting to end your pain and wanting to end your life. But some of those who struggle with mental illness may not be able to see the difference. That's
Mm-hmm.
why self-deletion, I can't say that word, self-deletion isn't selfish. It's what happens when someone loses their battle with mental illness. This is why I feel so adamant that we change the way we think and talk about self-deletion. Saying this is selfish or a fault of the victim is simply ignorant and tremendously hurtful to the family members who love someone who lost their battle. So stop assuming you know what someone else's life is like, or what it's like to live within their head." So I
Mm-hmm.
I I kind of agree with that. I don't in some instances, self deletion is very selfish, but a lot of times, just like she said, it does have something to do with the demons and the battles that people are fighting within themselves, and they don't know how to overcome those battles that they're fighting, whether it be something in their mental, or whether it actually be something physical that they're struggling with, as far as like work, or a living situation or something like that. It does have a lot to do with what's going on in your head. I would say I kind of agree with that statement. Like, we can't
Mm-hmm.
call somebody selfish for losing the battle of what they've been going through in their mind. Can't call them selfish for that. Yes, they left
Right.
behind a family. Yes, they left behind a wife or a husband, or yes, they left behind these things, this, that, and the third. But until we actually are able to figure out exactly what's going on with this person and try to keep them on this earth, whatever battle that they fought and lost to, it wasn't a selfish battle. It was a hard fought battle that they lost to. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
I feel like that's kind of what Twitch went through. You know what I'm saying? He went through
Yep.
that. Even though
Yep.
he showed this persona on the outside to where he was the happiest and most energetic and the most vibrant person, behind closed doors, and when he's by himself, he's hurting. And
Yeah.
we have to figure out as a community how to pinpoint these things when we can see what this person is going through. Like, oh my God, I think he's going through something. Let me talk to him, or let's try to find him some help. So I kind of agree with that statement. What you think?
I agree 100%. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because right before we started recording, I saw something on Instagram which was talking about the opposite of hard. So, like they said, life is hard. Um, being in a relationship is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Going through financial difficulties is hard.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that you want is on the other side of hard. It goes back to my first initial statement is, everybody goes through their different things.
Mm-hmm.
We may go through we may go through similar things, but there'll be like aspects of it that makes it, or nuances of that situation that make it different or
Yeah.
unique to you and myself. So yes, everything we want is on the other side of hard, but we need to determine where that hard is for particular people and help them when they reach that point to get to the other side of that, because life is
Yeah.
precious. And
Indeed.
I'm not going to say that these individuals don't understand that it's precious, but in the heat of the moment when they're at their lowest and it's the hardest, they can't quite see that preciousness of life. And so we it I say we, but the respective people that can help these situations, um, and let the masses know, okay, this is how we help people that are dealing with these issues. We have to figure out where that help comes from and how that
Mm-hmm.
help gets these people past that point. Because usually it is a situation, and I don't have any direct knowledge about this, but from secondhand, it usually is a situation that everybody deals with, but it's magnified to that person to 100 times, and they feel like there's no other way out but to do what they have to do. So if we can help them to realize, one, you're not the only person going through this. Two, um, you know, let's find out the help that you need. Let's get you the resources you need to
Mm-hmm.
push past this, and you'll be fine. And even if you slip back into it, we can help you to push past it again. I think that's the resolution for it. I could be wrong, but ultimately, yes, I do agree with that statement. My final thoughts on this, to wrap up this segment, is I think mental health is something that we will be combating, and it will be in the top two or three major issues that we'll have to confront in the next 3 to 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the increase of artificial intelligence and us having to learn and reprogram our brains to figure out how to make a living for ourselves. Now we're going to deal with a whole another boat of issues of how do we compete with
Mm-hmm.
artificial intelligence, and we'll also have to find ways for our people, for mankind, to move away from using drugs as a coping mechanism and find natural ways and ways within ourselves to handle these issues that we deal
Mm-hmm.
with, because as I mentioned, social media is such a beast right now. It's causing
It is.
us to really look at ourselves and compare ourselves to somebody in an unjust and unfairly way.
I agree, man. I think my final wisdom on this would be the truth is, man, is that many men are hurting on the inside. And the sad part is you will probably never know because
Hmm.
of the stigma that is placed on men in general in society. If he's too masculine, like I said earlier, if he's too masculine, he's being toxic. But if he talks about his feelings and he tells you what's bothering him and he's being emotional, then now he's gay. But so, you know, we're somewhere battling in between those two things. Most men are. Most men are not trying to be too toxic, but they also not trying to be seen as, you know, soft. So most men, most times, just try to shut the fuck up and deal with it themselves and try to figure it out. And sometimes things like this happen to where they can't take it no more, and they, you know, they resort to self-deletion. So just like D-Lo said, man, we're going to be dealing with this for a while. Just like you said, the next 3 to 5 years. So if the best thing that we can do as a society is, quote unquote, check on your strong friends, or check on all your friends, or check on your acquaintances, check on everybody who you seem to be a little bit close with, and just, just make sure that you're watching over them, and make sure that you kind of take heed to their warning signs. Or sometimes a small comment can be a cry for help. So make sure you're just paying attention to your friends and talking to your buddies and your boys and your brothers and even your family members. So making sure you're checking on them, making sure that they're good. But, you know, of course, if anyone, especially your family members, but, you know, if you're watching, or someone you know is struggling, you know, with a crisis, help is always available. So you can always text 988 or chat, you know, at 988lifeline.org. So that way you know exactly where to go to get some help, man.
100%.
And if he does actually get found that he did this, and these charges are going to land him 23 years in jail. So the defense attorney's got to do a good ass job of getting him off, because if not, he ain't making no more music. He's going to be right there with R. Kelly and probably dropping some shit.
I knew it was coming. I was waiting for it.
He's going to be right there with the aura, and somebody going to drop something that was bootleg, and he's going to say, nah, I ain't do that. I ain't say that.